Hello, I'm Mark Jewell. I'm an elementary school teacher from Greensboro, North Carolina, and the president of the North Carolina Association of Educators. And I'm here with my friend,
Yvonne Brannon. I'm with Public Schools First North Carolina. We're an advocacy group that works to strengthen our public schools K through 12 throughout North Carolina.
We'd like to talk to you about our legislative priorities coming up this long session of the 2017 General Assembly. One of the initiatives that we would like to see passed this year and signed by Governor Cooper is the House Bill 13, which actually protects the art, music, physical education, world languages, and other encore classes at the elementary school, while giving the local school districts the flexibility with class size, making sure that it is kept protected, small class size, but also giving them the flexibility to protect the jobs of our encore teachers. This is a major initiative, and most of your school districts will tell you right now that they simply cannot afford to lose any teachers right now, particularly those classes that many students come for each and every day, like your art and music and physical education classes, and of course world languages. But it also helps to develop the whole child with a well-rounded basic education. I also would like to talk to you a little bit about our initiative to returning class funding, restoring class funding for our per pupil expenditure. As many of you already know, we are $3,000 below the national average in per pupil spending, and still $700 below per pupil funding prior to the recession in 2008. As a result, school districts have had to cut many positions, such as instructional assistants. We've lost many student support service positions, such as guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists. We've lost teaching positions, which has increased class size. And many of our students are starving for the basics, such as pencil and paper, and even toilet paper in some instances. I was in a school just recently, and I saw the last textbook that was adopted was in 2005. This was a science class that obviously was outdated now. There was very little technology at the school, so the students couldn't really access information from the textbook series online. And clearly, it's a major issue when we're not funding textbooks and technology and student resources.
And you know, when we look at North Carolina, since 1840, we have had the first school open in North Carolina. And one of the things that we've always been really proud of, Mark, is that we have a constitutional clause for North Carolina that says that every child deserves a basic education. And it's hard to believe that, you know, our children are having a fair, equitable opportunity in public education when some of the school districts simply cannot afford to make up these losses in state funding. There are a couple other issues that we're going to be looking at and we care about very much this session. One is that we are asking for a moratorium on vouchers. We see that the governor has introduced in his budget to phase out the vouchers. We strongly support that. We think that school systems, as Mark has already talked to you about, are really struggling with underfunding. And every dollar we take out of the public school system and put it into private system is not strengthening our schools, and it's not fair to our kids. We're also very concerned about pre-K. We again applaud the governor for putting in the budget to add more pre-K slots. One of the things that we know every single research study has shown is that if you invest in pre-K and bring kids to school ready to learn in kindergarten, it pays off for the next 12 years. So we're very excited to see about that. And Mark, what's going on with calendar flexibility?
Absolutely. Well, NCAE is, of course, a coalition of a bipartisan organization group of stakeholders in North Carolina, which are strongly encouraging local flexibility with the school calendar, moving up the the start date to around August the 10th, similar to what the community college calendar start date is, which would allow flexibility for our high schools to be able to have semester exams and final exams in the first semester. So again, that's a nonpartisan group that's working of Democrats and Republicans that are working to return local control back to the districts so that they can start earlier and work around the needs of their parents and children and communities. We're also supporting the governor's budget, which is a long-term salary increase for school teachers and administrators and support staff. One of the things that Governor Cooper campaigned on was that he knew that we needed a long-term strategic plan to return North Carolina teacher salaries back to the national average, very similar to what brought me here in 1997. Many of our teachers, particularly our most experienced teachers, have not received a pay raise since the recession started, and we're losing a lot of great teachers to other states because of that.
What about principals?
Principals, absolutely. Principals, again, are going to be tied, hopefully, to the teacher salary schedule. So when the teachers get a raise, they will get a raise as well, and as well as a percentage increase for our school principals, because right now they rank 50th in the country in per pupil, in salary increase, and that's just not good enough for North Carolina, nor will it recruit strong talent into our administrative practices here. We also, of course, support salary increases for our teacher assistants and bus drivers, custodians. But we know it's more than just salary that's going to keep people into North Carolina. It is the working conditions. It is the respect issue there. It is having a voice in your site-based decision-making plans there. But we also know that we have to address the teacher shortage in our
teacher pipeline.
Yes, the teacher pipeline in our College of Educations have experienced a 25% decrease in those who are enrolling in education. So I'm very concerned about who's going to teach the children once people like myself and those who can retire in the next 10 years. We don't have anyone to replace them yet. And we're increasing enrollment. So you and I know that we have about 45,000 more students than we had 4 years ago.
It's amazing. And one of the things that I see the governor has included in his budget a scholarship called the Best and the Brightest to get teachers, start preparing teachers for the future. And I'm hoping to see other plans pop up in the General Assembly. This is something that should be a non-partisan or a bipartisan. Everybody should be interested in making sure we have high quality, experienced, certified teachers for all our kids. And so we're hoping to see some real movement happen on that. So we're hoping that you'll stay tuned to that and you'll help us advocate for whatever plan ends up being on the table. And the last thing I would mention is that, we've seen a lot of scandals in the last couple of months, even around charter schools, around how voucher money has been involved in fraud cases against some of the private religious schools, how our charter school, even over in Durham, is having trouble. And we really call on our legislators for more accountability and transparency in how our tax dollars are being spent. And it's not just the issue of how money is being wasted, but these are children's lives are being impacted when these these money is misspent that's supposed to be earmarked just for them, or when the school's operating in ways that aren't conducive to high student achievement and to promoting them in their futures outside of high school, outside of public education. So these are things that are going to be coming on, and we really ask to look at charters and look for leveling the playing field. If charter schools are so great, then let local school boards have the same opportunities. One of my notions, Mark, which is that if a local school board like Wake County would apply for a charter and got approved by the charter school charter committee, then let them operate. The school board members are elected by the community. Let them operate the charter. We don't need to have a private charter board to do that, who may not know the rules around federal and state rules around operating the school, which is what gets most charters in trouble, managing money. But we know that right now, the way charters are set up, that they're highly segregating our children on race and income, and that they also tend to be primarily focused on operating for very small school settings that aren't cost effective. But the vouchers have been going 85% to religious schools. So, the concept of separation of church and state comes into play. But more importantly, again, who has access to those vouchers in a truly fair way? They started off, Mark, being primarily for low-income kids, but the threshold now is really so high, it's very much like middle-class families and below. So it's really questionable if that program is really helping the children it purported to be helping.
Particularly when they're not held to the same regulations. Most private schools that are accepting vouchers, they do not require even a high school diploma for for teachers to teach with, which is that they're not required to do integrate testing. There's no transportation or free and reduced lunch that must be provided to children in poverty. So that's very concerning. And I'm very alarmed by the fact of reports that we hear that some schools are actually discriminating against some of the students that take in, and not with North Carolina tax dollars. I would refuse to allow my tax dollars to be spent that way. So I really do hope that the General Assembly will support a moratorium and to look into how well these schools are doing and show me a robust accountability system for them.
Absolutely. So, kind of like there are other hot bills that are coming down the pike around education, everything from what age kids have to start school to open carry, which is allowing guns or on campuses. Right now it's on college campuses, but it's also community colleges. A lot of our high school kids co-enroll at community colleges and high schools. So there's a lot of concerns about safety and what's going on with our children at school. So there's just a whole lot going on. But we feel very strongly that every child deserves a high quality public education. And so we hope that you'll check us out on Facebook and on our websites. But and look for the hashtag Schools Our Students Deserve. That's what we're working for every day.
Absolutely.
And we need our community to engage and be informed and to speak up and to work for what we consider is at the best interest of every single citizen, our economy, and the welfare of our children, which is a high-quality public education.
And if I could just add one other thought on that piece of legislation, and that is for our retirees, having a cost of living increase. Many of our retirees haven't received a pay increase in a number of years, again, prior to the recession. And they did have a one-time bonus last year, but you and I know that inflation and cost of living increases every year. We know that the average retirement income is around $20,000. Maybe an extra $14,000 Social Security after that. So that would make it very difficult for some of our hardest working state employees and educators to have to live on once they retire and not have an annual cost of living increase. So we would encourage the General Assembly to support Governor Cooper's initiative to have a pay raise also for our retirees who have dedicated their life and service to North Carolina.
So think about that. I mean, you give your whole life of these 12, 14-hour days. Okay, we all know that teachers get up early in the morning and go to bed late at night. They take work home with them. They work on the weekends. They spend money out of their own pockets for years and years. So they put in 30, 35, 40 years, and then we're asking them to live on near poverty salaries for the rest of their lives. So that's a little unethical and a little unfair and not what North Carolina is all about. So I sure hope that that you also be advocating for the retirees when you talk about our current labor force, because that's part of the retaining teachers too, right?
Absolutely.
You want to attract people into an industry that's going to protect them now and give them a retirement future. So thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. And let's ensure that every child has the school they deserve in North Carolina.